The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
In this moment, we really just need to thank whoever watches Twitter and sees all the love that has been outpoured year after year, tweet after tweet, post after post about the 2003 Clone Wars series, because it's going on Disney Plus this April. We're devoting the entire show to the series. What we love about it, what are the things that it did perfectly, and what are the things that the 2008 Clone Wars built upon that? We'll give you our 5 best moments from the series, and apparently Durge was going to pop up somewhere else. He's canon too, by the way. It's just a lot. It's a lot, and it all starts right now.
From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
It's a great day to be a Star Wars fan. Friends, we are going to have a celebration. It is a time to rejoice and be glad. You know why? Because we are talking about the Clone Wars, not the Clone Wars. We'll talk about the Clone Wars in a second, but what we're talking about is Clone Wars. And of course, to help me do this is my friend, my partner in crime, Mr. Scotty J. Rowe. We're having a good time here on a Wednesday, Beyond the Blast Doors live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. PT. And this should be a holiday. This should be.
Oh, it's amazing.
I have referenced, I think, this series every episode, all 112 episodes of Beyond the Blast Doors Live. I have been talking about this show, and this whole next hour is going to be about that. The series is coming to Disney Plus, along with Ewok Adventures.
What?
Which I'm not so thrilled about. I watched those when I was 8, so about 20 years ago, and I thought they were lame. But some people really enjoy them. And so for those people, I'm ecstatic as well, because whatever brings you joy in the Star Wars world should bring you joy.
Of course.
And I'm getting my thing. They're getting their thing. Scotty J. Rowe, thankful to be in your presence. How are you doing, my brother?
Ewok movies, too, not just the show. Like, that's going to be wild. I've never seen those. And it's going to be probably really good coverage for the Bombad cast. I'm just saying. You know, that's going to be one of the topics we bring up. So, man, I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to. And I want to say one humble brag. I will say this. Can I say it real quick? I called the Durge thing, and I'll go back to that later. Another thing I could say is I will be at Galaxy's Edge the day all that drops. So I'm telling you, waking up that morning, we're putting Clone Wars on while we're getting ready and everything. And then when we get home, we're going to watch some Ewok. Not home. Get back to the hotel. We're going to watch some Ewok Adventures or the movies. We'll see.
I was going to say, Scott, like, if you're at Galaxy's Edge, don't waste your time in your hotel room watching Star Wars. There's other things to be done in the hotel room. But when you're out of the hotel room and you're out and enjoying Galaxy's Edge, I mean, go stroke the landing gear of the Millennium Falcon. Go build yourself a lightsaber. Get one of those. Those tacos look delicious.
Yes, the Ronto wraps, or whatever they're called. They've got all kinds of weird stuff. Looking forward to actually trying it. And also, dude, that's a weird day for all this to drop. I don't know if it's God. I don't know what it is, but some divine intervention is occurring that's Star Wars related.
You know, it's maybe it's the father or the son or the daughter at work. We just don't know. We just don't. It could be any of them. We want to say big thanks to everyone who's joining us for this live show as always. This is just really exciting. It's been wonky the last several weeks, and we're glad to be here at the normal time. And big thanks to everyone in the live chat. Matthew, Mr. Rez, we got Andy, we got McLean 1138, JD. So some new and familiar faces. Alex is with us, which is really exciting. Jackson is with us. So we're going to have a really good time diving into Clone Wars and the Clone Wars. We're going to talk a little comic news in about 15 minutes, maybe a little less than that, with Marie Wilson of BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. She's got a nugget about Durge that we'll let her break. This, listen, when she sent me this today, I audibly at my work went, well, I said something I wasn't supposed to say out loud, and I
was live on the air.
No, it wasn't. Oh my God. If I was, I wouldn't be employed right now. I'd be here. There wouldn't have been a show. I'd like to say that if I would get fired, I would still do the show because I love it so much. Listen, if the day happens where I'm terminated, you're not seeing my face for a while. There's gonna be a grieving process. But no, as always, here on Beyond the Blast Doors Live, we want to remind you to bring back Cad Bane, hashtag bring back Cad Bane. We just really want to promote that because let me tell you, we're talking about Cad Bane 2 in this show, and it's actually relevant.
It is for real.
but this is just a little movement that we're trying to start here. So if you believe in bringing back Cad Bane in live action, would make a lot of sense in Book of Boba Fett. You tweet it, you tag us, we retweet you. We tweet you, not retreat. This isn't, we're not backing down. We're not running away from this. We're charging forward, damn it. No, we're really excited. Let's go ahead and get underway here with the show. Ooh. First topic here on Beyond the Blast Doors Live. The 5 things. Well, I mean, let's just do this real quick. The fact that news that all this stuff drops, I mean, well, you know what? We'll get into it. I'm jumping ahead. I got excited. I'm jumping ahead. This is what we're going to do first. There's so many things that I want to hear Scotty talk about because this, Lily, I'm just so amped. The 5 things Clone Wars did right in 2003. Genndy Tartakovsky dropping this series. And oh my goodness, I am so happy. And right off the bat, I got to say, it's the animation style. This was legendary when this dropped. Instant classic because it was so reminiscent of Samurai Jack, and it was the same team. So the animation is really stylized and bolden. I can actually show you this if you're watching live. This is how you should enjoy our show live on YouTube every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, as we show you things. But it's just, you look at the art, it's incredible. Bold. The line work is very thick. A lot of elegant silhouettes throughout this whole thing. I love the shot here of Anakin and Asajj on Yavin.
These are all random screenshots, dude. Like I didn't even try. I just paused it, screen capped it, and it could hang on a wall. Like it really could. It looks amazing.
It is incredible. The 2D animation was super unique still at the time, and it really felt like it was like Star Wars' own. I know that it was Samurai Jack, the same team. I just said that. But when you watch this for the first time, and they were, 2-minute little clips that first season in 2003, in between your shows, like in between like Dexter's Laboratory and Toonami, freaking awesome to watch these and see how it would unfold. And the characters, it was the perfect balance of like the likeness of the actors on screen, and then, the creative freedom with this different art style. So 10 out of 10, the animation style is one of the things I think the series did so well. And Scotty, you grabbed a lot of these clips. What I just love about this is it's simple. It never felt like this series was trying to do too much. It let the story kind of unfold. A lot of bland backgrounds, but like the focus was always on like the forefront of the screen. It always worked. Like Mace Windu blowing up this droid, it was awesome.
Oh, it was incredible. So one thing I can say to this too is I was watching it. I watched about 40 minutes of it before we went on tonight. It's not much dialogue. Like there are sequences that are maybe 5 minutes long that there's no bits of dialogue, which is great because that means you can just sit there and watch it. And as a kid, you're right. We'd watch it between like things on Toonami. We watch it between things on Cartoon Network, and you wouldn't have to remember the dialogue because it would be chopped up. So it was great. You can watch it in segments, and it still told a really good and visual story. And if anything, dude, this is George Lucas 100% because it's all visual. All visual. George is an amazing visual storyteller, and the creators of this took that to another level. Really did.
And what you're speaking to is tone, which I think is the second thing that this series did so well. Elegant, exaggerated animation style like we just talked about. And the pauses, the moments of silence. Like you said, Scotty, what the storytellers with this series did was allow this story to breathe. And it was saying so much with so little. I think about one of the earlier chapters when you're seeing Anakin get into his starfighter and going off to battle, and Padme is there grieving with him on the landing platform. He jumps in the starfighter and blows away. No dialogue there, but it's him letting go of his cloak, holding the side of her face, giving her, that eye contact, him getting in the starfighter and flying away. Not a moment of dialogue was used, but it was incredibly powerful and moving, which, not to be rude, but that is a complaint of Attack of the Clones, for example, is every time those two talk to each other, you kind of have like gag reflex issues. And so I think this series really improved on that. So yeah, the tone and just,
it's great.
It was gritty. It was gritty. And I think what was surprising in the moment was that there was a bit more violence than maybe was expected. Listen, we didn't really know what to get with the series, but Scotty, I mean, Mace Windu is fist punching Super Destroyer droids. You can't beat that.
Mm-mm. And it's kind of grand in the sense of George's vision, like the Grand Army of the Republic. I mean, the Clone Wars was an antiquated time. Like when you look at it, I mean, there's one part that would never happen in 2008 Clone Wars where it was like all of the I forget the exact names, but the troop carrier ships. There was like maybe I would say 4,000 being released from a ship at the same exact time. Whereas Clone Wars, the 2008 series, was way more rooted in reality and like actual like war and utilizing your resources. Whereas this, they're like, let's go all out with it. And it looked amazing. And it reminded me of the prequels very much still in the sense of it being very large and very extra. So it's wonderful.
I totally agree with you. And so I think what you're talking about is, like the Confederacy, the Trade Federation had these like bizarre space stations.
Yes.
And they would just shoot out like 5,000 Geonosian starfighters.
Yes.
And so like the whole time I'm like, so like when you're like watching this for the first time, you put your glasses up and you're like, now how are they having Geonosian fighters in space? There were like thousands and thousands of them. And it was just like OP. Everything's OP. The gunships are, the Confederacy is, Mace Windu, OP. I mean, Andy from Hollow Chronicles worships at the altar of 2003 Clone Wars, OP Mace Windu. Just awesome. And you know what we got to talk about? I think you had to talk about the villains when it comes to this. Grievous on your screen. You have Asajj Ventress that popped up, which was wild because it was the idea that there was this other Sith apprentice in the shadows. She was so dynamic, black and white with those red sabers. Of course, we find out who she is through her origin story that's presented in the series, that she's like this bounty hunter, this misfit Jedi apprentice. She gets the attention of Dooku. He whoops her butt. She gets the new sabers, and now she's in the Sith game, and I love that. Also, what I love, and I think the biggest mistake, maybe it's the one mistake they made with the series, with General Grievous, actually they made him horrific.
Oh, they did.
Terrifying.
Yes.
We've shown the image of him lurking up above over the Jedi at the end of season 1, where he kills them all, but like Shakti and the other guy. Oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi was there, right?
Yes.
And so, anyways, he's like in the shadows, boom, 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 and it was perfect. And it's not the Grievous that we got in the movie, unfortunately. However, I will say this: we found out that Mace Windu in this series is why he has the coffin, Revenge of the Sith. But they gave away his 4 arms. Imagine in Revenge of the Sith if he goes up to face Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And that's when we learned that he had 4 arms. That would have made everything way more intense on Utapau. I'm just saying, Scotty, I mean, the villains here are probably one of the most memorable things of this series. Which one resonated with you the most?
So look, this is the crazy part, was when this was coming out, obviously it was very soon after Attack of the Clones, right before, I don't know what was the timeline, David? Do you know the exact dates these things were airing? Because I can tell you this much, I owned the Grievous figure and the Asajj Ventress figure. I know I still have Asajj Ventress. I don't know where my Grievous figure is, but the coolest thing about it was, I just remember seeing it in the little catalogs that came with the Hasbro stuff. And I was like, man, this guy is going to be the villain of episode 3. That's going to be amazing. And of course, you see him there. And Asajj Ventress would have been really well utilized too in the films as well. But I understand that would have been a lot of different villains at once. And could have been interesting. But
well, keep in mind, so the first episode of Clone Wars dropped on November 7th, 2003. And so it went into 2004.
Wow. Okay.
And remember, the first season was a bunch of shorts, 1 to 2.5 minutes. The second season was 5 episodes. Each one was 20 minutes. Yes. So they were obviously very popular. And along with the Clone Wars series, there were a couple like Flash player games that came out on Cartoon Network, I remember. You could play as like Durge or Obi-Wan Kenobi, on the swoop bikes, or you're battling as Anakin and Asajj on, in lightsaber battle. So a lot of fun there. Something we got to talk about too, though, the music in this series was a great balance, because James Venable and Paul Dinlitter, they did the music, and they did such a great blend of John Williams' original score, adding some of their little bits in it. James is the guy that also did Samurai Jack. So here's another, team player from that series coming over here to make it special. And clearly it worked, and it was a great move to use that animation style and to bring over that audience, be like, okay, we're gonna have the same kind of look. We're also gonna have the same kind of sound with the music. I thought was awesome. And Scotty, music is such a valuable part of the Star Wars story. Going back to 1977, Star Wars hits the audience differently because it's a classical score. And it's so not what science fiction music sounded like at the time. It wasn't as synthesizer-like, right?
Mhm.
And so here you go. Here's a great example of how great this music is for this series. And, it's been such a talking point when you're watching the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, or you're watching stuff for Clone Wars 2008 or Rebels or Star Wars Resistance. I mean, you just
Of course.
go down the line. Music is always a topic of conversation. Is there a piece of the music, you just rewatched it, is there a part where the score really got your attention?
I was really impressed. There was one part where Durge was going through and just like wrecking house. And a lot of it, as much as I do love this show, some of it's very insanely unrealistic, but that's what makes it so bombastic. And there's one part where he's going through and it's so, to me, it's very George Lucas. He has a, what's it called? Not a javelin. It's a javelin, whatever people used to horse ride and hit each other with. And he goes into a tank, like an actual tank, and he brings it up and explodes it. And then all these, and you know what? It's really weird. You'll see it when it goes through the slideshow, but those are IG droids he's actually fighting with. So that would have been really cool to kind of bring IG droids into the canon that way. The music was stellar at that moment because it actually had a really good, I guess, sense of not horror. What's the word I'm looking for? It was very dramatic. It was a very big moment, but we'll see it whenever it cycles through.
And it had a base to it that was really fun. Yeah,
yes, it does.
The whole story arc on invading Munilist was just exceptional. I love that whole arc. Obi-Wan in control of the ground battle there. And scale was a little odd, right? Because one scene there's 5,000 starships battling in space, and then you go to this where it's like a guy with a javelin has hoisted up one of these large laser tanks that you saw bringing down the space station at the end of Clone Wars on Geonosis. Like the proportions were a little wonky at times, but we forgive it. I think this is aged like a fine cab. I'm going to be honest with you. I will say this. Music during the Asajj Ventress Anakin battle at the end of season 1 with on Yavin 4, that was super intense, and also the visuals of the flashing of Darth Vader's face and Obi-Wan, and I think Qui-Gon's in there too. I thought that was really cool. When I think of also like the chase, it was subtle, but like just like the chase through Coruscant when Grievous is hunting down the Chancellor. I thought that was really well done. And then I mentioned it already. I mean, you know me, I can go on and on and on and on about this series. But the score when Anakin leaves Padme there at the beginning of season 1, I mean, it's the classic theme, and it's building, and there's no dialogue. It breathes, and you just blast a hyperspace with like 35,000 Republic gunships on screen. It was glorious.
Felt very World War II. It felt like a World War II movie. It just like told this through visuals, and it was a great example. He touched her face, and then he got the cloak off, and he jumped in, and he like
it was all over dramatic. Awesome. He like takes his cloak off, and the wind blows it, and then it blocks C-3PO, and he's just like wailing. And so it was like little humor bits where like you thought it was funny, like when you're in middle school, high school, you thought that was funny. And then when you get older, you're like, okay, whatever. But now you have like space whales and singing robots in space. So it's like, like there's this weird stuff in Star Wars that we just accept. And I think we're kind of getting to the last point here. The last thing that this Star Wars series did so perfectly, the 2003 Clone Wars, canon connectivity. And whether that's General Grievous's backstory being introduced the way he was, and how he's pursued, and ultimately how Mace Windu, I mentioned it already, but how he's choked out. And that's why we have the cough
so cool.
in Revenge of the Sith, which is cool. And, seeing how a Jedi is knighted was spectacular. Don't have the image on screen, but, Anakin is brought into a dark room in the Jedi Temple at the end of season 1, but it's technically the start of season 2, right? It's technically the start of season 2. And then out of nowhere, everyone's, the council's lightsaber blades come on, and, he gets the blessing or so to speak from Yoda. So just, those moments are so great. We mentioned like the little, like the little bit, like the fact that like Anakin and Asajj would duel on Yavin 4, like wink, wink to the OT. So some great moments. I don't know, Scotty, what's a canon connectivity moment that you go? What's your moment?
Absolute favorite is when Grievous breaks in on Coruscant at the very end of the second season, and he steals Palpatine. And Palpatine has a line that's like, it's like, why would you come in and do this to my office? That's like the exact line. And I'm like, this is so campy and amazing. But I really am a sucker for like picking up right where something left off. And like that to me perfectly had that moment where they broke in, Shakti's there, and you come to find out Shakti was supposed to die in a deleted scene for Revenge of the Sith. So like there's a lot that was supposed to go on apparently, and that really wasn't executed in Revenge of the Sith. But I love the idea that you pick up right where you left off, and then all of a sudden you're in the theaters in 2005 and you see those ships come down and you know exactly where they just were. It's so good. It's so cool. I want that for Clone Wars now. But
well, and that's what we got though. That's what we got.
Yes,
remember season 7 when it starts and we go in those last 4 episodes, that last arc, Obi-Wan is blasting off to go to Coruscant with Anakin, and Ahsoka is hightailing it with Rex to take down Maul. And so it's just it's that is one thing that I'm glad that they did do with that series is you have to connect it to the start of Revenge of the Sith. And yeah, to your credit, Scotty, this original series in 2003 just did that. Anakin's walking out, calling out orders. Ships are flying out. We're going to war. And of course, Revenge of the Sith has the best opening of any Star Wars movie ever.
Always.
Ever. So that's our top 5 things that we think Clone Wars 2003 chef's kiss aced. What are the 3, 5, 9, 11, 12 things that you think the series did great? We want to know. Let us know down in the comments below so that we can continue this Star Wars conversation. We want comments on our episodes. We like to have that conversation after the show and further explore why we love Star Wars so much. Real quick, Scotty, I want to dive into the live chat because I feel like people are going wild.
We got some super chats. Look, I got one from Andy right here.
Let's do it. What did he say?
I wonder why Grievous won out as a secondary bad guy with Dooku for Attack of the Clones. They were all great, but Grievous maybe a little scarier. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting statement. I have a feeling that Grievous was still very conceptual whenever they were going into it with Revenge of the Sith. So, or making this show. So I'd imagine that was maybe part of the reason, but he played a much bigger role in the second season of this show, obviously.
I think what I do remember is an interview that George Lucas did where he was talking about how the 3 villains of the prequels were supposed to represent an element of Vader himself and Anakin and his transformation into Darth Vader. And so you have the mechanical monster that is Grievous. You have the arrogance of Dooku, and you have the ignorance and rage that's within Darth Maul. And so I'm with you. I think that was very conceptual, and I think that's probably why the character was ultimately revealed in the animated series. But my God, yeah, I wish that's the Grievous that we could play with more. That just was very well articulated. I also found the 2003 Clone Wars Grievous action figure, and if I wanted to drop $89 on it, really, I want to drop the $89.
That's how much it's worth.
Yeah, you got to pay $89 for it. Yeah, it's crazy. And I have the Blue Trooper on my other shelf. I'm in my makeshift studio right now. But yeah, I mean, those figures are so dynamic. Oh, we have another super chat. Jerry, what does he say?
He says, Star Wars doesn't always have to go hard AF with action and brutality, but sometimes it does. And when it does, it's incredible. Jared, I agree. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. It's very, very kind. You're one of the best out there. And I agree, dude. You know, Star Wars doesn't always have to rely on violence and really high octane action. But like you said, especially in the animated world, it looks amazing. I mean, I can say this too. The very last season of Clone Wars, the 2008, obviously the 2020 run, was amazing because of like the Siege of Mandalore, how amazing the action was for that. But this show, I would say 2003 probably did it first. The original Clone Wars, it was amazing. It was so brutal, but as it should be. It's war.
Yeah. We coming up in 10 minutes, we're going to talk about the 5 things that we think the Clone Wars in 2008, helmed by Dave Filoni, did as well or even better than the 2003 Clone Wars. A little compare, a little contrast. But before we do that, we're going to be joined with one of my favorite people. It is Marie Wilson of BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Marie, so good to have you on the show. And this week, we're talking comics here. What do we got? What's going on here in the world of comics?
Hey guys, so Dr. Aphra number 8 came out today, and it was wonderful as always because it's Dr. Aphra. It was funny. It was exciting. It was surprising. And you just finished talking about canon connections. Well, let me tell you what. This issue certainly had its fair share of canon connections, which was awesome.
Well, and you were saying how like it was like canon connections are great, but it's for that reason that you probably have to know what's going on in the world of comics right now, right? Like, if you're not following comics, this is not the comic just to pick up and read, right?
So at this point, yeah. At this point, it would be a little tricky because, for instance, it references Magnetolvin from the first Dr. Aphra run. It references something that happened in flashbacks in the Dr. Aphra audio drama. It one of the bad guys in the series now is a bad guy that originated in the Bounty Hunters current Bounty Hunters comic series. And I feel like there was another one, but there were like several different things sprinkled in that, and there's the names, there are quite a few different names. Oh, this right here, this image right here. So this is a Nile starship graveyard.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So
yes.
now we're...
So High Republic's the other thing that it connects to.
Oh, wow.
This is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just like so much, and that's like the fun of it, right? So if you get in on the beginning, you're able to play in all these different points in the comics, and then if you're like some of us, where you're like, well, I'll wait until the middle or something. Well, then you kind of get lost, which is why every week you need to check in on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com because Marie goes in depth, in detail with each, with the comics of that week. And if it wasn't for you, Marie, honest to God, I would have absolutely no idea what the hell is going on.
Me too.
The High Republic stuff to me is like the more I see it unfold, and I'm still reading the Charles Soule book. The more it unfolds, it's just I'm almost at the point already where I feel like it's overwhelming. Like there's so much to go through, and we're all busy, and honestly, we're all going to become more busier, right? Because the pandemic, vaccines are coming out more and more and more, so we're starting to get our normal routine. So it's like, I got to manage my time now to barely staying afloat. I used to be like, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd have 5 hours. Like, what am I going to do? Okay, well, I guess I'm going to go read, 4.5 hours worth of Star Wars comics. Like I binged. Let me tell you, this is not what we're talking about, but we're going to talk about it right now because I'm talking on the microphone. The Star Wars Legacy comics, those things are dope. And like we're talking about Durge. Durge is in that series. You had Asajj pop in there, like freaking just the art was exceptional. I'm done. But like, oh my God. So what are we taking away? This comic is awesome. Alyssa Wong does great work. The art is awesome. It's a fun story. It weaves through a lot of canon. So if you're staying up to date, great. And if you're not, you're like me, you're a little lost. It's okay. Because you have Marie. I guess that's what we got into.
She's the best.
She's the best. Before we wrap up, because we don't want to get too into the weeds with this comic. We want people to go out still and buy the comics, support their local comic book shops. I mentioned Durge, and Marie, you found a fact out that I wasn't even aware of. Durge was going to be originally in Clone Wars 2008. Can you explain that? Like, Durge was going to be in that show.
Yeah. So originally, George Lucas had mandated there were to be no bounty hunters in the 2008 Clone Wars animated series. And as they were writing the show, they were like, "Oh, we need a bounty hunter." So they were like, "Okay, well, what about Durge?" And they started reimagining him as this human, with pretty much the same armor, but like that. And then they were like, well, what's the point of using the same name if he's not even the same species and it's completely different? So they came up with Cad Bane.
Oh, where is he?
Bring Cad Bane back. Everybody hashtag bring Cad Bane back. And if it wasn't for this decision, we wouldn't have bless. I'm so happy by this fact. When Marie told me this, I kid you not, I go, you have to be blanking kidding me. I had 3 people turn around And they're like, what did you, they thought it was about my story for the day. I was like, no, not to let you down. Got nowhere with that, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm like, well, actually, I tell them this, and no one cared. No one cared. But you care because we all like Star Wars. To me, that's insane. Because, you know, I think that for fans of the 2003 micro series, as it's affectionately called, I think there would have been a lot of annoyance where you had this really cool character that can be wounded but can regenerate, is really large, has cool armor, really sheer strength. You're seeing that character go up against a prime General Obi-Wan Kenobi in his clone armor. It's like I planned it. And so it's like, oh my God. And then if you would have had some human guy walk out in that armor, I think that there would have been a lot of outrage. But to Scotty's point earlier, Scotty, Durge himself was one of those things about the 2003 series that was unrealistic. It was like he gets shredded by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then he comes back. He's like 5 stories tall. He's absorbing clone troopers into his body. There's like a clone trooper becomes his nipple. It was strange.
I remember that.
I don't think that would have played well in 2008 Clone Wars. What do you think?
No. Now I can say this much. It was interesting to have that news drop that Durge was going to be, obviously the Clones was coming back to Disney Plus because the next day, literally the next day, we got Durge back in canon. So you never know what Dave's going to pull. Bad Batch, like I said, can get really weird. This might be them slowly setting up some maybe I would just breadcrumbs to the obviously big piece of toast that we're going to see in Bad Batch. Now, one thing I will say too is I called it. You can look at the timestamp. I was about to hop in the shower. I said, Durge is showing back up. I'm telling you. And then that comic dropped, I think at 7 a.m. or whenever it was. And it was there. He was there in canon again. It's so cool. I have a feeling he will show back up. Definitely.
Here's the thing though, timeline wise, and there's just like so much we don't know about him, but it's like, I don't think canon wise, it would make sense for him to show up in a lot of this, because it's like you're getting closer to the sequel trilogy than you are the original trilogy. I don't know how long these things live. Like, okay, so here's the thing. He's a Gendar. That is the species. Whoa. He's 3 meters tall, which I operate in yards. So he's tall. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, so in Legends, he died 19 years before the Battle of Yavin. Okay.
Okay. Makes sense.
So
into the Clone Wars. Now
it's funny. So I've gone to Wikipedia because I wanted to confirm if there was a death date. Only in Legends, there's a death date.
I'm telling you.
In canon, it's brand new. Most of this information is thanks to what we've learned from this crossover event involving the comics. So for those who don't know what's going on right now, there is this crossover that Charles Soule is in charge of, where it's exploring what Boba Fett is having to endure as he takes Han Solo and Frozen Carbonite to Jabba the Hutt. So forgive me if I'm wrong, Marie, 3 issues in is when we'll meet Durge?
So issue 11 is when of Aphra is when Durge is going to appear.
Okay, very
and
cool.
Just 8 came out today.
So I'm gonna pull this over on screen, so we can take a look at this real quick. This is Wikipedia, and this is the concept image that they have on the site. Oh, is it not going to let me show his face? You goofball. Okay, well, we'll scroll down here, and if you look really closely, that's the humanoid version of Durge that was being developed for the Clone Wars. So it's kind of like the armor, but it was a human in there. And that's so lame. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. That's so lame. I'm so glad they didn't do that, because I would have been pissed. I would have been annoyed, and I would have been one of those fanboys crying about it. And you would have to comment on my tweets to tell me that I'm a piece of crap human being for having an opinion about a show that I like. So there you have it. That's the humanoid version of Durge. It blew. It was terrible. Marie, thank you for informing us. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. When we're talking about comics next week, comics out in the near future, what do we need to have our ear to the ground for? I'm ready for another Vader comic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got April 7th.
Okay.
Mhm.
High Republic 4.
Well, that's our excitement level for that comic.
No, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I did not mean it like that. No, High Republic 4 and High Republic Adventures 3. So that's exciting. Star Wars Adventures
2 weeks from today.
5 is supposed to be. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, 2 weeks from today, April 7th. High Republic 4 and High Republic Adventures 3. So
Cool.
I'm super, super excited to figure out what in the world is up with Skier, the Trandoshan Jedi, because he's going a little bonkers. And everything's a little bonkers because the Dringir, the evil plant things, are getting into people's brains. So talk about wacky. It's getting pretty wacky.
I love you, Marie Wilson. Marie Wilson with BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. She joins us every week for Beyond the Panel. Marie, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Marie Wilson with BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. She is great. We love her. We appreciate her. Without her, I would not know what the hell is going on. I feel really bad because I'm trying to focus on the novels right now and make my way through that. It is so hard to digest the comics on top of it, and then you have the adventure line on top of the main line. It's just there's a lot going right now. I like my Darth Vader. I'm very interested about this crossover event. I'll be reading that week to week because I personally would like to know. Yeah. I thought Boba Fett got to Jabba the Hutt pretty simply. That was my assumption. Apparently things got weird. And Durge is there at the end of Empire Strikes Back. That's a crazy thought.
How wild is that?
In new canon now, Durge is alive post Empire Strikes Back.
During the OT, man.
You know, Scotty, you said it earlier. I could be wrong. I mean, Durge, who knows? Maybe could Durge show up? Book of Boba Fett.
Could you imagine in Book of Boba Fett or Mando? Holy cow. Man, that would be so Dave, but that's a story for another day. But we never know. We really don't know until it happens.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I feel like I need to bring this up now.
Where's Jackson at?
Because you, my dude, they announced this on a couple days ago. Hollow Chronicles, they talked about this on Monday, but there's a Black Series Jackson coming out. And this thing looks incredible for $25. I think it's a must. Everybody knows that I'm a big Jackson fan. I'm a real big fan of that original line of Star Wars comics. I've got his debut issue, that original Marvel run. And so I'm really excited for it. But here's the thing. Hasbro does us dirty. I want it more for the box than I do the actual figure. And I'm trying to decide if that makes me a bad person. I don't think it does. I just think that the figure looks great, but the box looks better. It's also
the
Star
price
Wars
too.
Yeah, it's like the Adventures art. So it's $25. You can't beat that.
No,
I was hoping it'd be the original Marvel art, but like, okay, use the Star Wars comic adventure. Like the Star Wars Adventures version of Jackson is chef's kiss.
Oh yeah.
That makes me really happy. There's also a really sick Darth Maul that's dropping.
Saw that.
And then Shadow of the Empire.
It's Luke.
Yep.
And the villain, one of the people from the Royal Guards, I forget his name. One of
Crimson or Cameron or something.
Oh, look at this. Jackson says, "What a handsome son of a bitch." Yeah, boy.
Hey, we try and keep this show PG, guys. PG. Unless I forget, and then exceptions have to be made. It's happened. Live chat is having a great time. Love all the fun that everyone's having. It seems like everyone's just right along with us on this ride. Cad Bane is just a cheap dirge. I'm going to ask you to refrain from saying that ever again. I'm going to tell you that Cad Bane is an exceptional character. And I would say, even as much as I praise Durge so far in this episode,
sure,
Cad Bane is still my favorite bounty hunter in all of Star Wars, because Cad Bane is really one of the few bounty hunters to have success in Star Wars. Like Boba Fett did get Han Solo. Okay. Cad Bane did get Zero the Hutt. Like, I mean, there was success there. I don't think that Durge had success. Durge gets destroyed. He gets annihilated. At least we thought. I don't know. Things change. Canon's weird. Companies buy other companies, and People
do what
get
they want.
call names, and yeah, they do it. You buy the IP, you do what you want with the IP. Everyone's having fun, and that's all I care about. Loving Star Wars. Okay, so here's where we're going to transition now back to the main theme of the show, which is just talking about having a fun conversation about Clone Wars 2003. Let's pivot now, and let's talk about what we love so much about the Clone Wars from 2008. And I have the wrong lower third. There's the right lower third. That's what we wanted. Good job, David. Glad you know how to run the board. We're learning. It's a process, but we're learning here. So right off the bat, I think it would be most appropriate to go with story arc.
Oh my God.
When it comes, or not story arc, I'm sorry, but character development when we're talking about this. And I think there might not be a better example than this.
The best.
So when we're talking about the 5 things that 2008's Clone Wars did really well, character development is where we start. And we'll start with Ahsoka just because we watch Ahsoka go from snips to literally one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars. I mean, that's what Dave Filoni and team did with that character. But you also have Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi's relationship. You also get not the corruption. I don't like saying the corruption of the Jedi Council, but the blindness of the Jedi Council to what's happening around the Council and the galaxy, which is also. And then when you're talking about character relationships, Scotty, we have to talk about clone relationships. And I was just wondering.
That's something that's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Why does it work so well?
Well, you go into this show thinking that the clones are just going to be a backdrop for war and you're going to focus on your heroes. But Dave came in, obviously, and did his George Lucas thing where he told a story about identity and what it means to be identified and to identify with something else. And these clones, you can watch all 7 seasons. There's at least one arc that deals each season with a clone having identity crisis, saying, well, we were just bred for war. Who are we? There's even moments of amnesia and moments of confusion between the clones and what they're supposed to represent and what's going to happen to them when the war's over. It's really profound. And it's a really good idea to teach kids, because a lot of kids, when they grow up, man, they feel like they're all part of the same group and that's it. There's no uniqueness between them. But the clones, they tell that story literally using the same face, same exact voice. It's just so well done. And that maybe is the only overlook that 2003 Clone Wars didn't really touch on. They made everyone look like the same person and sound like the same person, do the same exact things. Whereas this one,
yeah, to your point, which was consistent with Clone Wars, with Attack of the Clones.
Exactly, which is consistent with Attack of the Clones.
Yep. And so when you get to Revenge of the Sith, now you have like Cody. Okay, he's a special clone. He's buddies with Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And you're learning that there's these. You're learning about the individuality of these clones, and D. Bradley Baker gets
oh my God,
all the credit, right? Because
it's amazing.
Bradley D. Baker. I said his name wrong. Jesus, I apologize. But he does such a great job performing as all of these clones, and about Fives, and about Echo, and Rex, right? Okay, I get it. But like Wolf, there's all these clones that because of that performance, but also this series took the time to tell stories that allowed you to develop a relationship with these clones. And I think that's really the next part of this that we should go into is the storylines of the series, because you're talking about a 7-season show, there was a chance to tell these story arcs and let things breathe. And, I know that for some people, the series at times is slow. The 2008 Clone Wars series had a lot of filler. Well, some of these seasons had 20-something episodes, and sometimes they were just they had to put a pause to give you a break so they could build you back up again in the rest of the series. Like a lot of shows do that. But when I think of like the storylines, like that's so critical for the clones, because you're going on missions with the clone troopers and you're building bonds, like the special, the special unit clones and Clone 99 and that whole thing. And it all works so very well. But also you get to fix the relationship with Padme and Anakin, fix it, do it better than what happened in Attack Clones. I don't care how you want to spin it.
I was going to say that real quick. Jerry has one of the best comments I've seen tonight. He said the Genndy Clone Wars is amazing, But the Clone Wars, like 2008 Clone Wars, changed the way we all looked at the prequels and Star Wars overall. And that's an impressive thing to do because people, for some reason, and I understand it now as an adult, but there was some animosity after the prequels came out towards what they did with the story. Mm-hmm. And to me, personally, Clone Wars took these stories and these themes that George implemented in the prequels and really elaborated on them. And it did an amazing thing. And Jerry, that's spot on, man. It made me appreciate the story of the prequels a whole lot more. And honestly, I think the Clone Wars overall and all the animated shows, Rebels is fine. I like watching it. I enjoy the themes in Rebels. Same with Resistance. But I am genuinely a big fan of Clone Wars because it takes that prequel I guess you could say ideals and kind of just puts them and elaborates on them way better than the prequels did, which is a good thing, which is what we need. Honestly, is what we need.
Well, and we've talked about this before, like maybe to a fault, but like George Lucas was just trying to do way too much for 3 movies.
Sure, yeah.
And so what 2008 Clone Wars does is allows George Lucas to tell that story.
Yes.
A lot of us thought when Obi-Wan Kenobi references the Clone Wars and A New Hope, we're like, that should be a freaking movie. So when we got to Attack of the Clones, we thought that's what that movie was going to be. We didn't think it was going to be like the last 10 minutes. And so here is George's opportunity now to really flesh this thing out. And, if you are someone that can enjoy this animated series and then watch it along with the prequels, it's a lot more cohesive and it all makes so much sense and it works really well. The vision was too grand for what George was trying to do with that prequel trilogy. And you know what? And that's okay. He's being realistic, which is maybe one of the things that this series also did very well, which was trying to be realistic. And there's empathy, there's real emotions that you're learning. There's loss that you learn in this series that I think that is really valuable. We talked about it, the romance again. You're playing a little bit with, you go to these different planets and you have, slavery being touched upon and like these other concepts that very much so mimic our reality and mimic our history. And I freaking love how every episode of the Clone Wars starts with like a quote and great. how it ties into the overall 22 minutes. And it was Star Wars that made sense. To your point, Scotty, Clone Wars, you'd have a bajillion ships flying out of a Republic gunship and a Confederate gunship, and they'd be going ham in space.
Be insane.
Okay?
Looks crazy.
Okay, well, you know what? When you invade a planet in the Clone Wars 2008 version, you'd have like 5 or 6 gunships cruising down, maybe a Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like it was a Star Wars movie, but it was handled in animation. It had the same realism of the actual theatrical releases, which I loved. And I love the art style. People can back down. They want to tell me that the animation style for Clone Wars blows. I think it's awesome. The coloring, the lighting and shading obviously got better as the series went on, but you know what? It was cool. Maybe not as cool as Clone Wars, but still pretty badass.
See, that's the thing. The realism is also really important because you see these characters going through a lot of different things that you would not have expected, kind of ties back into the clones thing. They have their own identities, and that's a real thing that people struggle with. I know I struggled with it growing up. If I would have had a message like this growing up, I would have thought, oh, okay, that's what makes me unique. That's everyone's different attributes that people bring to the table. And, there he is. So like you've also got some amazing characters that show up in terms of realism, right? You got a bounty hunter who's bad to the bone. He's a lot like the good, the bad, the ugly, which is a real authentic bounty hunter in terms of what we see in film. And I don't know, the more I think about Clone Wars 2008, the more I realize how much I love it. And like, there's a couple of things that I think need to be stated in terms of how big this show got.
Let's talk about that because really the reason why I put up this image is because we're getting the conversation about scale, the scale of this show, how it was so large. And so to your point, continue your thoughts.
So it was just cinematic. I mean, you're watching it and obviously look, the last season of Clone Wars was the most cinematic. I mean, literally that last 4 episodes felt like a George Lucas movie. The way this, like, look at that shot. I mean, like, they got really good with the animation, obviously, by the year 2020, so they could go a lot more artsy with it. I mean, they blurred the backgrounds. They did a lot of really cool anthropomorphic lighting and stuff. It was so well done, and so the scale felt huge. You had Yoda doing his own missions. You had Mason, Jar Jar doing their own missions. It's just crazy. Like, they could do pretty much whatever they wanted, but they realized that it was important to keep the integrity of Star Wars. They never went too extreme with it. And, David, I want to hear your perspective on it, because scale in Star Wars is super important, like really, really important.
Well, and you kind of touched upon it too. Like, I think what makes Star Wars look so cool is the framing of shots.
Yes.
And, I always talk about in the prequels, what I love is when you arrive at any planet, you have that landscape shot, whether you're landing on Naboo or you're landing on Mustafar or Otopa. Like, you get that wide establishing shot that tells you this is the terrain and we're in a new location. Like, I love that stuff. And just how, like, there's the horizon in a shot. It doesn't have to be right in the middle.
Yeah.
You can put up high, you can put it down low, and it completely changes how you digest that moment, that scene. And so I think that that's mimicked so well in the Clone Wars. Obviously, George is doing it, so it's not even mimicked. George did it, but he does it with Dave Filoni and team. But, like, scale can also be, like, quite literal. Like, how cool was it to see the Twilight up against the Malevolence? In the early Clone Wars episodes.
That was amazing.
Like, those gunships are freaking massive. And it's really cool. And you're able to see really cool space battles. And when you said, I think this is funny, and this kind of takes us to our last point here. Clone Wars never took itself too far, but what was controversial when it came out?
Oh, it was amazing, though.
The sun. This image apparently doesn't fill the screen, but that's okay. You get the point. The father, the son, and the daughter. The Force is probably the thing that this series does so well in comparison to the 2003 version, because 2003 was like, the Jedi can do anything you want them to do. They will fist punch droids.
Yeah.
They will bring down the ships. They can do incredible acrobatic things in the air.
Force punches. I mean, it's crazy.
Force rush. Those are things.
Yes.
But what I thought was cool about the Clone Wars, again, is it's George's ability to do what he couldn't do in the prequel movies.
Exactly.
The Clone Wars is 20-minute movies. And the way that they were able to tackle the Force with the father, the son, and the daughter, I thought, like, explaining Force Ghost was really cool with Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And, like, how there's steps. And, like, Qui-Gon couldn't get there, which is it's a really fascinating concept, when the real reason Qui-Gon couldn't get there is because Liam Neeson got in a car crash and couldn't return in the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
So there's some, like, really good stuff there. I don't know, Scotty, like, when you think about
another
like,
thing,
the Force, what are you going to say?
Instantly what comes to mind, and I've talked about this on Bombadcast several times, we talk about the wills and talk about the Force and midichlorians, but that's what that's what Clone Wars does so well, is that last arc with Yoda on what was supposed to be the last season, where he explores the Force. He goes to Dagobah. He goes to the wellspring of the wills. I mean, it's so cool, but you can see that it's George kind of finalizing what he meant when he talked about midichlorians and how midichlorians work. And that's something that people had been wanting answers to, or maybe just wanting to avoid, but George kind of rounded it out perfectly. And you've got the Force priestess that are there. You got Yoda versus Darkside Yoda. You even get Darth Bane in that thing. So, like, there is so much that is done in that last couple episodes of season 6 that is amazing. And it does do some really weird stuff with the Force. And David, I honestly can say I didn't watch these when they were coming out, but whenever I think it was 2014, whenever Force Awakens was really announced, I started to click through it. I remember one whole day just like going through like 2 seasons. It was the best day ever.
We want to know what you think, because we told you the 5 things that we think the 2008 Clone Wars series did very well. Maybe even did better than the 2003 version. But what's your thought? Tell us down in the comments below. You can always let us know in the live chat when you watch live. But when the episode is done and you're catching up on YouTube, drop us a comment. If you want to comment 5 times, we'll comment each one. We promise. We'll do it. Hey, this is awesome. This is like an episode I've always wanted to do, but I didn't know how to go about it. And I guess the series going to Disney Plus worked. Yep. We have 5 minutes left of the show, and I want to do our top 5 moments of the Clone Wars. And so very quickly, we're just going to mention that Star Wars Visions Ronin, the original novel, was announced. This is due out on October 12th. I think Scotty's way more excited about this than me because he wants Star Wars anime, and we don't know anything about this series. It's 10 episodes. Now there's a book, and if you care, you should stay up to date with Del Rey. Scotty, do you have anything to add?
All I can say, and I'm sure you've all seen the videos, Star Wars anime. So back to that. I'm really excited just to be able to say that we've seen Star Wars in anime. The book could come out and it could be okay. I really don't care about the book. Just the fact that they're kind of playing to this, whatever Ronin means. I mean, it could refer to Ahsoka. Maybe Star Wars, the Vision show is going to be something very weird we didn't expect. And Matt Martin himself, I saw in a tweet, says this is the thing he's most excited for. And that, my friends, is very interesting. So stay tuned. That's going to be coming this year, Vision. So I'd imagine summertime, maybe. We'll find out.
We'll find out. And also the Mandalorian novel and a guide canceled. And so it's a bummer because those books are
What's your take?
I think the Mandalorian novel would have been interesting to see what they would have explored that wasn't obviously in the series. I think the guides are really fun to pick through and learn about the ships and the weapons and all that. There's people that spend a lot of time to make those resources. And I understand that these were pretty near completion. So I wonder why they were pulled out. And I don't know. There's some speculation because it has something to do with the Cara Dune character. I think that's unlikely. Maybe the book wasn't that great, and they're like, you know what? Let's just hold off on it. It
might tell a story that John and Dave want to tell, and guess who I'd rather tell the story? John and Dave. Because literally they made it. So this could have been a prequel that we didn't know about. They didn't really go into that much detail in this novel. Am I upset? No, not really. I would have read it, yes, but. The thing is, let the people who made this tell it. That's the big problem right now is they want to give these books out, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But you see what happens when the book negates what the story's telling, and Rise of Skywalker is a prime example of that. So I'm not going to get much further, but I can say this much. Axe it. I don't care. Visual Dictionary, axe it. Wait till the series is done or wait till it's really the best time to do it.
Totally fine with that. And
being frank.
So my birthday is April 9th.
Nice.
And my parents still ask me for a birthday list, which I think is kind of strange. I'm 28 years old.
28-year-old man.
And so they're like, well, what do you want? I put the Rogue One art of on there. And
that's good. Got that right there.
I'm hoping for it. Yeah, you have all of them, you lucky son of some bitch.
Books.
Okay. No, it's fine. We said it already. Live chat's having a good time. Hey, Marie. Oh, Marie, she's super bummed about the Visual Dictionary.
I don't blame people for feeling that way. I just know that I think if we wait, we'll be a little bit happy with that product. And I'm always about the long run. Look, I can wait. Honestly, if they said Book of Boba Fett's not going out for 2 more years, if that's what it takes, I can sit on. I really can. Or that book or anything.
You know what I can sit on? And I'm not even trying to be inappropriate with this. # bring back Cad Bane. I can sit on that all day. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I think you'd like it if he sat on you, but that's a whole
not.
Story.
Stop it. That's gross. Why do you have to go there? This is a family show.
Family PG. Look, David, our top 5 moments before we end this show tonight.
All right, let's do it.
Top
Here we go.
5.
Here we go. You ready? I'm ready. I'm gonna get to my place. Here we go. The top 5 moments of the 2003 Micro Clone Wars series. Number 5, Kit Fisto saves the Mon Calamari. This episode is insane. You have a Star Destroyer that's cruising down to the planetary surface. It banks into the water, and you see the waves come out, and it was like, well, we never seen that before, so that's super cool. Republic gunships, Star Destroyers, they can float in water apparently. Kit Fisto takes off he's jacked. He dies down with all these clone troopers with the jetpacks, and a lightsaber underwater. Had never seen that either.
First time. And it's weird. Clone Wars 08 took this same idea and elevated it. So you wonder if Dave watched that and was like, I love that visually. Let's tell that a different way. So it was inspirational to somebody, obviously, in 2008 or around that time.
No, I love that. And you have to. I mean, of course, Dave Filoni watched. Whether he watched that when he was starting Clone Wars in 2008, or he was watching because he's a Star Wars nerd. He's seen it before. I also like Kit Fisto throwing a force ball. At the legs underwater. It was insane. And
so cool.
It was just really well done. And again, like, you know, because I guess we didn't know like what battle droids would look like post Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But they're Geonosian clay colored battle droids.
How weird is
in these like underwater things? I'm like, why are Geonosians producing underwater craft? That makes no sense at all. But again, these are the things I think about. Because I don't know how to use my time for anything more productive, apparently.
Exactly.
But that is number 5. Kit Fisto saves the day for Mon Calamari, and you got to play with the Quarren in that, and like the political divide of that planet, which you also get into with the 2008 Clone Wars. So very cool there, very cool there. Number 4. Let me hear it, Scotty. Anakin and Asajj duel. Why is this so important?
Dude, everything about it. I mean, they're on Yavin for all places, like the fourth moon. And you, of course, it have the infamous scarring moment. And that's just a cool duel. Like by the end of it, all their clothes are tattered and they are going at it. And they happen to do it over water. They do a lot of things that The Force Awakens does. They do a lot of really interesting visual fighting things that otherwise couldn't have been done, I think, at a film for the time. So they're fighting at night. They're fighting behind the big red planet. It's just a lot of really cool visual things that I never would have expected from a cartoon show that is executed perfectly in this.
It was gritty. It was aggressive. There was rage. There was anger. The score was incredible. The pacing was exceptional. Them running out the temple. Every bit of this sequence was great, even going before the lightsabers are ignited, and you have Asajj taking down each clone one by one in the forest. Just exceptional. Number 4, Anakin and Asajj duel on the list. Number 3, listen, like any space battle, we've talked about it already, is the fact that you would have also, I love they're not T-16s, but that Republic Starfighter in Lego. I need that in Lego bad. I'm missing it. The bottom fin, the middle fin rotates up so it can land. Anyways, any battle, like when the Republic rolls into a battle, they have like 2 billion starships, and so do the Confederacy. And so the Separatists, they just go at it. And I to this day, I don't understand why Geonosian starfighters are being used, other than we just didn't have any drawings for Revenge of the Sith ships.
Sure.
Yet. But it was awesome. And like, Anakin is like whizzing around in this customized starfighter, which I have in Lego because it's badass. And then you have like just this ability. He's taking out so many ships. He's flying around with Saz Ventress at one time. He has the clone fighters shoot over the bow of this one gunship and annihilate like 500 droids that were pursuing him. Just everything so OP, cool. Scotty. Everything OP.
For real. And you know, they had a really good job at like showing that transition from kind of immature Anakin to mature Anakin by the end of this season, and of course well into the second season of this show. And right here is the very beginning. This is the first battle you see him in, and he says it to Obi-Wan. He said, look, I am the best fighter pilot in the Jedi Order. Let me do this. And that's what gives him that trust, and he goes off and does it, and he does a great job. It's amazing.
Space Battles is number 3, our second top moment of 2003 Clone Wars, the introduction of General Grievous.
Dude, look at that.
And here's my thing is, you have, what was it? Shaggy is the Padawan that gets taken down. He looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. But just like, again, I made this point earlier, but here you have General Grievous. The voice worked. The way he walked and moved worked. He was larger than the Jedi. This was a believable villain for Star Wars. Love that he could wield lightsabers, that he was trained by Dooku. That's what we later learn. Just really the perfect Star Wars villain. I still think it was a mistake to reveal that he had 4 arms.
I agree.
I think that was a mistake. I think that could have been a really cool reveal saved for Revenge of the Sith. But you get some Mace Windu love here too, right, Scotty? Because he force chokes Grievous at the very last minute when he's trying to escape with the Chancellor.
Yep, and he's got the cough after that. You know, funny enough, Easter egg for anyone that doesn't know, that's when George had bronchitis, and they made him go into the booth with Matt Wood, and he actually recorded the coughing, and that's Grievous's cough, which is really kind of sick. Another thing too is Grievous's voice in this is actually significantly different. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it's like this weird, like high, it's like very droid sounding, and they don't know what to expect. And this moment is straight savage. Like he is just killing them left and right. One of the best moments is he grabs one of them with his foot and slams them into the dirt and kills them. And then he picks up a lightsaber with that same foot and he fights off 2 Jedi with 3 lightsabers, one of them being his foot. It is so wild. It's over the top. It's Star Wars, and it's really good. And this is what sold that character for me when I was 9 years old. I'm like, this guy's the greatest. How can you get better than this? So I love this moment.
This was tough because I think for a lot of people, General Grievous would be one, but for us, it's Mace Windu.
Dude.
It's got to be Mace Windu. It's got to be Mace Windu because this guy literally takes down an entire like separatist. It's like it's like a mining spaceship. I don't know. It's
just slamming into the ground.
It's the vehicle that creates the craters for the separatist spaceships, the ball ships that are supposed to be like the precursor to the Death Star. It's that cruiser, but you get moments like this where it's like, this is insane. So what I'm pulling up right now is an image of Obi-Wan, or not Obi-Wan, but Mace.
Oh, it's so good.
Disintegrating a stormtrooper or a super destroyer droid with the Force. It's just, I'm talking all over myself because I'm amazed.
He's excited.
I am because the series did so many really cool things, and I'm in love with it. And here's like,
the screw, dude, if they did that now, that'd be so sick. I kept thinking, I'm like, when he unscrewed all their stuff and it just fell apart, I'm like, that is honestly to me so Dave Filoni. Like, that's next level humor, but also you're like, I'm blown away by this power. That is amazing.
There was a recent moment in Star Wars that reminded me of this, and it was when Luke uses the Force to squish the one super trooper.
Oh,
the one dark trooper. Yeah.
Yeah. And he like crushed. That is kind of like that. That's a good point. Wow.
So I mean, that's what I doubt that that's actually a thing, but it's what reminded me. So those are our top 5 moments of the 2003 micro series of Clone Wars. Clone Wars arrives on Disney Plus April 2nd. Dude. If you haven't watched it already, I hope you do, and I hope that our conversation here inspired you or motivated you to go watch it for the first time or go back and relive it and enjoy it and appreciate it. It is something that is so pivotal to my Star Wars fandom, and I love sharing that with you. And it's just been so great to share this with everyone in the live show. And Scotty, I don't think we could have possibly left anything out of this.
No, David. And I want to say this. David approached me this idea, and I know this is one of David's passion projects. Honestly, I'm so happy you got a chance to talk about it publicly. And who's to say we won't talk about it again? But it's so cool that people who haven't seen this will get a chance to see it on the ease of Disney Plus, because the only way I saw this series recently was, shout out to a friend on Twitter, Mike Levins. He actually sent me the video files, and like I needed them to this episode, and I needed them just to have them personally. So here we are, and now it's going to be accessible for literally everyone on Disney Plus. It's going to be cool. This could show a whole new generation of kids what Star Wars animation could look like and how OP it can get.
It was kind of funny. So people are sharing all these like memes on social media lately of like how kids now just don't understand. And it's the one with the LimeWire logo.
Oh, yeah.
The first way I was able to rewatch these episodes was LimeWire, and I had to download the QuickTime version of those episodes. Now, since then, it's all deleted, and I own the DVDs. Like, I found the DVDs at Borders in like 2005. I purchased the DVDs for like way too much money. I think I spent like $25 or $30 on each DVD.
Oh, Jesus.
It might have been like 20, but like now
at the time though,
that was a lot of money for.
That's it. That's where you could get it.
Yeah, but it was like the season, so it was whatever. I don't regret it. There was someone, I think it was our friend Apprentice Ewok on Twitter, posted that he bought the DVDs, and then 2 days later they announced that it was coming to streaming.
Oh my god.
You want that tangible. I mean, you just I think and like you still have all those like special edition, like the special features on the DVDs, like the making of documentary, which is really fascinating. So I always say that it's still worth buying the tangible. My wife would tell you it's not. So hey, this has been episode 112 of Beyond the Blast Doors Live for Scotty J. Rowe and myself. We appreciate you. One last shout out to the live chat, because we have Matthew and Gallinori and Saber and Marie Wilson and McLean 1138 hanging out with us. Oh, good fact here to end on. Grievous was voiced by Joe DiMaggio, Bender from Futurama in those episodes.
No way. That doesn't surprise me.
And DiMaggio also is the voice of the Joker in some of the DC animated stuff.
He's in so much stuff. He's one of the most well-respected voice actors there are. And that doesn't surprise me. I'm going to go back and listen now. Thank you so much for that, McLean. I appreciate it.
We didn't even mention, we went that whole hour. We didn't even mention this was our first time having James Arnold Taylor as the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes, and it's perfect. Whoever did Anakin was a little off, but the second season got better. I'll say that much. The first season, he's like,
it was
Master.
Oh man, I'm spacing on the name. I feel bad, but they didn't keep him. And Matt Latner is perfect in the 2008 version, so it worked out there. Scotty, thank you so much.
Always.
Heads up to everybody. Next week for Beyond the Blast Doors Live, Scotty and I are trying to figure it out. He's going to be at Galaxy's Edge. I'm going to be out of town on assignment for work. And so there's a chance that we will not have an episode. The following week, I am back with my dad. My dad's birthday is April 9th. My dad's birthday is the 8th of April. Mine is April 9th.
No way.
Going back home. Yeah, I was a birthday gift,
That's amazing. Gift.
I mean, they timed it pretty well. They did get lucky. I will say this. We're still trying to figure out, we might do some pre-recorded episodes. It seemed like a lot of folks liked our pre-recorded episode from a few weeks back. Where we took Twitter questions, and then we just riffed off those for an episode. So please be on the lookout for that call to action. We'll be asking for your Twitter questions, and Scotty and I are going to do our best to can some episodes so that way we can keep on track, still keep talking Star Wars with you, but also allowing us to spend time with our families, and then straddling the landing gears of the Millennium Falcon at Galaxy's.
Oh, it's going to happen.
If I need a photo of that, like I'm not trying to be inappropriate. I want a photo of you doing that. And when you get a lightsaber, what color crystal are you hoping you have?
I was thinking about it a lot. I took a quiz from StarWars.com, and it said blue, but dude, I'm thinking green. I've never owned a green lightsaber, and that green looks so vibrant. I don't know. The colors are red, blue, green, and amethyst or purple. So I don't know, David. What's your suggestion? What do you think?
I would always go blue. Always go blue. Oh yeah, I think blue looks the best.
Yeah.
Followed by purple, followed by red, followed by green.
Green. Okay, so green's in the last. Interesting. So we'll see.
And I'll tell you, white looks pretty badass too. Can you really go wrong with a lightsaber color? I don't think you can.
No, you can't. Mm-mm.
No, but blue. Blue is the right color. I mean, all the cool Jedi have blue lightsabers. Ahsoka has even blue lightsabers at the end of Clone Wars. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.